Welcome to another edition of Can We Talk Sports. Thank you so much for joining us today. In studio today, we have an amazing guest for you. We have Mr. Derrick James, the man behind the man of the champion we call Errol Spence.
I am so honored to be sitting here with you, Mr. James. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to come and sit down with you. For us, it's so important that we can give this information out to parents about boxing, how to become a boxer, you know, what's the difference between boxing and fighting. And so that's one of the reasons why I thought it was good to sit down here with you today. So can you just tell us, who is Derrick James?
Well, I'm Derrick James. I grew up at the Oakland Boys Club, which is now Boys and Girls Club. And I started boxing when I was 5 years old. And I boxed amateur until I was 20 years old, so I boxed amateur for 15 years. Then I turned professional when I was 20. I boxed pro until I was 37. So I retired, and right when I retired, when I started training Errol. Like 10 years since I've been training, and I'm 47 right now, so it's like we returning to the 11th year. And so all the knowledge, everything I've learned as a boxer, is what I use for helping inspire the fighters and work with the fighters.
Excellent.
Now you said you started boxing at 5?
5 years old.
Now normally a mom would be bringing home a truck, a dump truck. How is it that you got into boxing at the age of 5?
Well, my older brother went to the Boys Club, and I followed him. He started boxing, and you know, like younger brothers, they want to emulate what the older brothers do. So I started boxing. I loved it, and from when I was like 10 years old, we went to Ohio, this big boxing tournament, and I won it, so it was like the first national championship.
Wow.
And then, so when I came back, I still did boxing, I kind of doing other sports also. And then when I was 14, I went to the national, so I went to another national, and I got to see kind of how it really was and how serious other fighters were. It was the National Junior Olympics. I came back and I lost the first fight. When I went back home, I worked on my everything. And the next year I came back and I won the whole tournament. So it was kind of like, so from that point on, I just been pushing, working hard, and I kept doing better and better and better. So it was good.
Now what's your mama say?
Well, you know, my mother had a discrepancy with me. She really didn't want me to box, right? But what's funny about it, you know, she had a conversation with somebody and they told her, like, hey, she's good at it. And I was a national champion at the time. And it was the time when it was Carter was winning everything.
Oh, in 89.
So, in 89, right? So she was like, you should be, you know, and I already won the national junior Olympics in 87. So then I came in 1989. I won it under 19, so I won another U.S. championship. And so it was kind of like we had to beg her to let me box. And, you know, my father was one who kind of led us to it and guided us to it. But she later appreciated it. And, you know, so it kind of formed, because like for me, everybody else was like doing everything right here. I went to Korea, London, went to Puerto Rico. So I was traveling like throughout the amateurs. I went to like about 30-something states. So it was like my upbringing was different because I had a different group of brothers that I traveled with, who were on the national team together. And my experiences were different because I got to see other people live, other states, other cities, other countries.
So it just opened up a whole world to you where, I mean, other kids will be right here. You got a chance to experience the world.
Well, and it was basically from the hard work that I did, it took me to those places. I mean, every year, you want to stay on the team, you got to keep winning. You got to work harder. It was never like you made it when you were young. You have to keep proving yourself, keep getting better and better and better. So keep changing your position. And so that is what motivated me, that's what pushed me. And you know, like travel around the world, like what, I went to England, I was 17. I went to Puerto Rico, I was 17, 50%. The next year, I went to England, I was 18. 17 when I was with Puerto Rico. I went to fought against Canada on the USA. I mean, so I did a lot. And what that did was that it, you know, it gives you a good work ethic.
Okay. Now, going through and being that athlete yourself,
Right.
in the sport that you love,
Right.
how was it for you at that age? Because at that point you were a good adult.
Right, right.
How was that for you making the transition from athlete to now trainer?
Well, that's a good question. Well, what happened was that in being a teacher, is like you have to realize, you have to sit back and realize, first of all, you're not the guy anymore. You're not the guy.
Now, how was that transition for you? Because I know a lot of athletes, you know, when they're not the guy anymore, when they're used to be, especially so young.
Right.
And in today's day and age with social media and everything, we have our children who are younger
Right.
in the limelight a lot sooner
Right.
than what they used to be. So how did you transition from, like you said, being that guy to now I've got to be the man behind the guy?
So you just have to accept the situation and roll, look at it for what it is. And for me to be a teacher, I had to step outside of myself and look at what as a fighter, what would I want to know? What would I want to learn? How far? And I think one of the greatest assets is that I don't stop at if you can't get it. I keep pushing. I'm gonna keep trying. So some people will say, okay, maybe tomorrow. No. I'm gonna keep, because I think that it's very, he needs to know he's very good, know how to do it, so I stay on it, focus.
So you're the strategy guy.
I'm the strategy guy, I'm the guy who won't take no for an answer, meaning that if you don't get it, because me being an ex-fighter, I can teach you how to do it. Or I know the mental state of the fighter, so it's like, everybody wants to go into the ring positive and know what to do, just be confident in what they need to do. So I think that a lot of times I may win the ring with an idea, but my idea was just that it wasn't any depth to it.
Okay.
So when you push a little further, the adjustments and things you may need to be able to do or have to do, you can't do them. So I think that they're all sports. I think that kids have to be taught every aspect of it, from the good and the bad. I mean, to teach them how
That is a great
to
point.
be able to understand it, to be able to accept it. I think that a lot of times failure and loss, you have to accept it first.
Yeah.
When you look at Sean Porter, from me watching him from the physical perspective, he was beaten early in the fight, but he did not accept it, so he kept trying to fight throughout the whole fight. I think that, you see the way he was starting to slow down, to get fatigued, and now do that from to be defeated. A lot of times, you have to accept defeat. You have to okay, I'll do better tomorrow. And while you're still in it right now, so you're just trying to go through the motions to get it done with. So I think that he showed fortitude, or just I'm not gonna quit. And even if I quit, I'm not gonna stop. And that's basically what I saw.
So with boxing, we do know that discipline is like one of the number one things, and that's really with all sports.
Right.
But the mental for boxing is a little bit more deeper, as far as I can recall of talking to people who's gotten involved in that. In your opinion, what is the most difficult thing for a youth to learn to discipline themselves from? Is it the eating habit, or is it the staying consistent every day of the week, or the really tough workout? Which one is the most?
I think it's the lifestyle. So when I say lifestyle, that's all inclusive. So really it's the eating.
Okay.
I think that, but it's like, so you can think about diet, or you can think about changing your lifestyle.
Gotcha.
And that's the difference. So that's why I say lifestyle opposed to saying diet or eating. Because I think that to be successful in boxing, a lot of people go up and down in weight, right? But I think that's you find how to survive in it. But I think that when you change your lifestyle and you live a certain way, you live a different life. Like, just like no different than, this is not when people join who become Christian, right? Change your lifestyle.
Gotcha.
So I think that with boxing, I think it's a lifestyle change as opposed to most of the other things, you know, just to kind of equate like what you do, your perspective, your point of view on life is differently now as you become a celebrity opposed to where you were before. So in boxing, you can't be in and out. You know, you would want to benefit the most. You would want to be able to dedicate yourself to it. Just like in football, basketball, you can't really be. You can be. Some people just naturally gifted.
Right.
But what happens is, to think about what that natural gifted person would be, you 100% focused on one thing in particular. So just like for me, I played football, I played basketball. I was 6 feet tall in 8th grade. What happened was when that year 1987, when I won the National Junior Olympics, I started doing everything. Because I was like, I was number one in the USA. I'm never going to be number one in the USA in 8th grade in football and basketball. Right?
Gotcha.
That was very mature.
So what happens is that something that I learned, and I said, I like it. And even when I went to high school, I said, you gonna pay me? You gonna give me clothes? Can I travel with you guys? What are you talking about? I said, well, that's what I do when you say boxing team. So I said, unless you're gonna do those things, I'm not playing football. No, it's not it.
And I love what you said about it being a lifestyle, because now going forward, and like moving forward, and you know, Spence is everywhere. You know, he's doing all these things, and you're the man in the corner. You're the quiet man in the corner. And you talk a lot about lifestyle and a lot of things that you do off camera. A lot of people think that you have this champion now that is your involvement. But that's not true. That's not true. So, can you explain to our viewers your balance of life?
So what I do is that I have 3 kids, and I'm married, and I have a job that I work at 5 days a week. I do in-home training, like Tuesday and Thursday, I go to people's houses. And I own a gym, so I work 7 days a week here. So it really keeps me occupied, and at the same time, I don't overextend myself with people or fighters, because like I think that people chase dollars. What that means is they have so many fighters. First of all, I don't think of Jesus Christ when it comes to boxing. So I think a lot of people started buying the ego. One trainer of the year.
Right.
I think like, man, that's what I'm capitalizing on. No, it's not for me. It's like I take it. I mean, I never thought about it, because I think that accolades are, for me, are one from the boxer's perspective. So I let them have that. But if I can get it, I'm cool with it. You know, but I work a job. I work 5 days a week at my job. I work 7 days a week at the gym. So I stay busy. I stay focused, and that's the key element I think to my success is that this is what the women would always say. The same thing it took to get me, the same thing it took to keep me.
That's the truth.
So
That's
what
my
happened is
That's my mouth.
the same thing it took me to get to this point.
Yes.
Like, why you still go to work? Because I love what I do, and I think that I've never met a person in my place right now, like where I was a year ago, winning best trainer of the year, whatever. What I mean by that is that because when they get to a point like that, that's when people start to kick their feet up, kind of relax and chill out, take the foot off the gas.
So stay home.
So I would say I just keep working. I mean, the way I got here was I had a circle of guys, and we would inspire each other, and I was inspired by them. And so they inspired me. I would say a co-op, guys who did one was a bank, one was like a tech company. So we just talk to each other, inspire each other, and just kind of like just talk. And it was just the inspiration of those guys and you know, and everything around me that kept pushing me. So, listen, when you get in this crowd, you gotta pick your weight up. So I think that you just keep getting inspired, not want to be a pro football player, not want to be a banker. I want to be a guy who owns this company, but at the same time, to be inspired by those guys. I think we have to surround ourselves with people who speak positive things to us.
Yes.
And we're positive enough to inspire you, because like, I don't want to be you, but at the same time, I can still be inspired by you.
Yes, that's good.
That's a positive thing to say, to be an adult and making sure that your circle is positive.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, so not only are you showing your kids and telling them, hey, be careful who you're yoked with,
Right, that's right.
who's in your inner circle and who's in your village. You know, we say that a lot, you know, be careful and guard your village.
Right.
Yeah.
Because your village raises your crop.
That's
So
right.
you want to make sure, you know, that you're keeping those people around you, so your children are able to positively see, your fighters
Right.
are able to see positive
Right, right.
associations and relationships.
Right.
So how are you maintaining that balance between the 5-day-a-week job, 7 days in the training, you know, engagements that you have, I know youth things that you're involved with, and then your own personal children? How do you make all of you work?
Well, I do my best to prioritize. I do my best to stay in shape, stay healthy, stay fit. 'Cause I think that you can't keep up a schedule like that and not be fit, not be healthy. And I think that
That is true. That is
that you have to. I'm a practicing Buddhist, so I meditate. And so
Wow.
I think that you have to have some sort of, you know, you have to be, you know, and I'm inspired by everything. So I think that just to keep everything in balance and appreciate people, you know, understand people. I mean, I would put myself in other people's shoes, right? So that keeps me humble, that keeps me grounded. Like people say, man, you train. Listen, you know, I wake up in the morning, drive 26 miles, $30 on a Wednesday morning. So what that means is, yeah, change. I'm not valuing anybody. Everybody could lose a commitment that I had as an individual opposed to the financial situation that it is. I mean, so you say you're gonna do it, you do it. So that's what I do.
Okay, so we're going to touch back on this quiet spirit that you have.
Right.
So the sport of boxing, it is a sport.
Right.
We are all firm believers that it
It's a
is,
sport.
it's an actual sport, it's controlled, it has a governing body,
Right.
it is a sport.
Right.
It is a sport. But it's also a very come at me, I'm gonna get you,
Right.
what we would consider the atypical violent sport.
Yeah, right.
I'm just saying, just from a perception, right? So how do you take this quiet spirit that you have and embed that into your athletes to be able to have that quietness within themselves, the aggression that they need to win in order to think through their fights?
I think everything comes from knowledge. I mean, so if you know who you are, and so what that means is like for me, I know who I am. My mother gave me everything, like everything. My mother really gave me everything. But then even when I was older, my grandmother was like, "You're the one, do this, you know." So, but my mother gave me everything I needed as a young man to where I don't look for it anywhere else. So I could be who I am and be confident who I am. And I mean, and so you don't have to raise your voice. And it's all about knowledge, meaning that when you give everybody I know what you need to do. And he knows what I expect of him. But not only do I expect him to do something, I've given him 3 or 4 different chances or styles to attain the goal. So it's not just one way, you're not stuck in this, we can't do it this way, do it that way. So it's all about knowledge, and it's like a relationship to where they expect something from me, and I expect something from them, right? But the only thing I expect from them is to be the best that they can be. Not so much about winning, because I love it, I like it, because it's like continues everything on, but that it's so much about the social issues. So just like I did with them from a boxing perspective, I get involved socially, and I do some other things with them, like we talked about within the city or Houston or whatever. Because that's what it's all about. I mean, I would not be here. This is a key element. Let me tell you something. We're thinking about what I'm saying. So everything I do is inspired by me being awakened, and like from not really from a real perspective, from a Buddhist perspective. I am every one of my ancestors. So what that means is that I have the opportunity to change the shackles, take them off, and become whoever I want to be. And so my deal is to enlighten and inspire the people to do the same, because I've changed that, right? And everybody has the opportunity to change that from whatever. Depends on what you want to do or how you're inspired, but I've changed it for myself, and I'm living to my kids and everything like that. So it's like, for me, it's like about just making my ancestors, my parents proud. And that's really my every inspiration, to be the man that my mother wanted me to be. You know, that's like, I've said it all the time, 100%. To be the man that my mother wanted me to be. Because she knew she told me everything. And to be that guy is, who I aspire to be. So
So is that the foundation of our gorgeous shirt that you are wearing? From your brand that you brought into the world, that is helping so many athletes and kids be inspired, that I am my greatest competition.
So what happened is, it was a conversation I had. I was doing an interview, and they asked, well, you know, your guys fighting these other guys, these great fighters. They said, but what about you? What do you think? Are you challenging the coaches? I know the great coaches. I said, I don't think about it. I said, I'm my greatest competition. And so someone called me and said, man, you said something that was so phenomenal. What are you talking about? So when he told me about it, I said, send it to me. And I saw the interview. I said, well, that's right. So I had to trademark. That's the reality of it, that I am my greatest competition. We all are our greatest competition. We all are, if we're not doing something right, or we want to lay in the bed a little bit longer, no. You're the one that's inspiring yourself to get up. You're the one that compete with yourself every day. And that's where we fall short, because we don't hold ourselves accountable for ourselves. That's why I believe that we have the inspiration that we look for a lot of times other people is within us. So I'm inspired by myself, and I carry more than me. Like I said, it's about my ancestors. So I carry more than me. So if I don't want to do it, think about them if they don't want to do it. They get beaten, they get raped, they get this or get that from being slaves. So think about it. So I can't, like my wife, oh, she said something like, you see, stressed or something. I'm like, what? Like, you couldn't have been a slave. She's like, what do you mean? I was like, because you couldn't tell that guy that, right? You couldn't tell him that. So I was like, so it's kind of like that's where my whole inspiration, even though today my inspiration is for my people. Because you think about, what did they go through? What did they endure? Yeah. So what can't you endure? Because they endured for you to be here, right? So what happens is you have to be able to take it, because they took it. They were able to endure when you went and we had from being raped from the woman, and the men were getting raped too, just delivering the meaning. And to live with that every day and find some joy. You can't be happy. That's all I'm saying. You know,
now how do they purchase?
So I have a website, it's called DerrickJamesBoxing.com. That's DerrickJamesBoxing.com. Or you can go to D James Apparel, which is on Instagram. But really, Derrick James Boxing is the site. You can go there, you can get whatever you need. And I have some more things coming out. I mean, I have some other shirts coming out. And it's like everything is going on, like the whole thing. Like Mother's thing, like 3 dreams. I said I'm living 3 dreams, which is the reality I'm living. Martin Luther King dream, which MLK dream, which everybody living in MLK dream.
Right.
I'm living my ancestors' dreams, and at the same time, I'm kind of living my haters' dreams too. So those are the 3 dreams.
Absolutely.
That's the reality.
I love it.
So but the main 2 are the top ones. That the other one is just like that's how it happens. The better you do, as good as you do, no matter what, people kind of dislike it, don't like it. So I feel like I'm living their dreams as well. So that's what it is.
Excellent, excellent. So does your teaching stop in the ring? Like, how much do you get involved with the development of your athletes, you know? And Spence specifically, just because he's got the belt now.
Right.
I'm disappointed you didn't bring it so I could get a picture with
Well,
you. I'm just saying, this is a me thing.
I haven't
thing.
seen him again since we flew back from LA. That's the last time I saw him.
He on a beach somewhere where you can't see him.
We're taking a break from each other.
Right.
Because he probably sick of you.
Yeah, he is. And so then in the next couple weeks, I started training my other guy, which is Jamel Charlo, which he was the first champion that I trained.
Okay.
He's from Houston. He was the WBC championship, and he lost in a very disputed decision last December. So now he's having a rematch with the guy to get the belt back.
Excellent. So, does it stop with the ring?
No.
Or how do you keep Spence, and how do you keep him from falling into that hype trap with some of their predecessors?
Right.
How do you keep them grounded? I mean, especially with your spirit and your belief system, it has to mold over into your athletes because you spend so much time together. How are you helping to keep them grounded? I mean, Spence, he got a little edge to him now. He's wearing a little chain, you know.
Yeah,
how do you keep him grounded from his newfound
I think he's been grounded. This is his mother. It's like his mother, upbringing from his mother. it's what, like I said, you know, you don't have to buy into those ideas. Like for me, like we go shopping together. We hang out when we're out of town here. We always go to dinner together. So, and that's Errol, Jamel, and myself. We spend like quality time together. It's not just about business. It's about in our private time. We spend time together as well. So I mean, one of the things I like, we shop a lot. Not a lot, but we go shopping together.
Y'all can have it because I'm
No, listen. No, what I'm saying, like, we go, so I wanted to be a fashion designer, so I do personal shopping. So we do a lot of stuff, and yeah, but we shop together, we go, Jamel, we do the same thing too, so we all kind of, both of the guys, I give them their own time, we kind of hang out. A lot of times, we out of time together, we get them together. Yeah, so we see it's all together.
I think that's amazing because I think that's a misconception that a lot of people have is, you know, my coach is just my coach, my teacher is just my teacher, you know, my nutritionist is simply my nutritionist. Right. But I think they're missing that relationship aspect between the connections. I think that's amazing that you keep access with them.
Thank you. And even like sometimes they go out, I go out with them, even though I'm an early guy, but I do it just because of the relationship with them. Like, okay, I'm gonna stay with you. Keep my eye on you, whatever. Yeah. It's all about personal relationships. I think that keeps everything going. Personal relationships.
Accountability.
No doubt. That's right.
I was seeing on your Instagram where you were in front of some kids. I think it was in Houston, a charter school.
Right.
What kind of things did you tell them?
Well, I told them about my greatest competition. I told them that they're the greatest competition. I told them my story, which is funny, is that I never thought about my story until I was talking about it. Like my mother had my older brother when she was 16. My dad that raised me did a life sentence in prison. He couldn't read and write. So you got to think about, and so when you think about all these things, then he went back to prison like 3 or 4 more times. And so you said, okay, so I'm telling y'all what happened to me, what y'all see me. So you can't tell me your situation can be any more harsh than that. If it is, that's even, but you still can make the investment.
Be successful.
So that's the point I was telling them, is that, you know, when I first started, I used to tell this, man, I got to think about it, get choked up, like, man, that's crazy, but you think about your daddy raised you, couldn't read and write, but he still raised you to go to school, do this and that.
Absolutely. So with everything going on and, you know, all the just the success and just the empowerment that you have with the children, going out and speaking to them, absolutely outstanding message. What's next?
And you know what's funny about this is that, let me tell you, I don't.
We sit up in the seat.
No. What really, it's crazy because people say you make goals, I don't make goals. And the only reason why is because I think that I'm living that thing that I'm doing, right? But I think that at the same time, as I say, I don't make plans to do this or do that, because I just wait until I want to do so and do that. But at the same time, I say that there's no cap to, there's no end to whatever I'm doing either. So if I say, I want to attain this, when I was younger, I grew up in a place club. And there was a guy, Bill Whittington, who came to the place of Dallas Mavericks. And it would be a boy of the year banquet. And like, it's like 2,000 people in the room. But I say he was talking to me because I heard it. And I probably to never be satisfied. And so what they said is that and never been satisfied is to say that I used to set small goals, and once you get that, keep going, get that, keep going, get that. So you just like, it really kind of like, you be like a shark, right? So the reason why people don't die when shark attacks is because the shark shakes you, thinks that you dead, and keep you going. And you get somebody there, something else fine. So he's not standing there to spend time with you, he's gonna shake and kill you. I think you did, keep moving, so it's like you attain a goal, keep moving. And then it got to the point where it's like, you know, I'm not, because I don't, it's like, I'm living a dream. I'm living the dream of, like I said, my ancestors, I'm living the dream, like, I could not imagine being here. I can't even sit up and think about it. I couldn't tell anybody what it would take to get to this point. I can't, because I'm like, dedicated, focused, and just work. So I think that's why I get to where I don't make goals, I don't make plans, I might just do it. I just go after I do it, and at the same time, that being said, then I don't have an ending point. I don't celebrate. So when we go to fights, I don't celebrate because I think you celebrate when you finish, when you attain everything you want to attain. If I don't have any goals, I'm not celebrated. I just keep going.
So with that said, what brings Derrick James joy?
Solitude. I mean, I think it's seeing people happy. Seeing people happy, seeing my family happy, seeing my son, my daughters, seeing them happy. That's what I think that brings me solitude, is that and joy, because that I'm seeing the change, right? So it's like they're an extension of myself. So as long as they live, then I live, and everybody else keep living. So all my kids and the son and me, so it's beautiful. So that's what really gets me. Just to see people happy, see my family happy, is the key to it all.
Amazing, absolutely amazing.
Now I want to ask about, okay, we know boxing. Is boxing and fighting the same thing? Because us as parents, when our kids are growing up, we trying to tell our kids not to fight.
Right.
But now they can get paid for fighting. So is it the same thing?
No, it's not the same. Boxing is more strategic. Boxing is it's strategic. I think that fighting is something totally different. And fighting can be taken out of rage or a misunderstanding. Even for me, from the perspective of a fighter, because I hadn't boxed in so long, I see these guys fight like, man, I mean, they're so inspired, like so like into it. Like, what does it take to be really into it like that? Because mentally, I'm so away from it, even though I'm training somebody to do it. It's just an inspiration to be the best and to focus on winning and being successful. But fighting is something that's out of rage, stupidity. Boxing is something that's strategic, start out as playing and strategize.
But I see some of them fighters, when they be meeting up and they be going at each other. Is there some kind of rage inside of them?
That's from some sort of conversation, something somebody said, or something that, even something happened with me at the last fight, where the trainer's father had constantly kept saying something about Errol, And so I said something about him, but I said something true.
Right.
About him from my perception, and I knew when I said it that it was going to cause a reaction, but it still was true from my perspective, and from other people's perspective too. And so the father was really upset about it, but I wasn't bothered that he was upset about it because he kept saying and jiggling Errol, saying something about Errol. So I just felt like, hey, okay, well, let me say something back, say a truth back that he didn't want to hear. I mean, I'm pretty sure, I said to the people who were in the media, I said, you guys are no good because y'all not telling the guys the truth. And y'all know the truth, and the people not being honest with you guys. So you go living a life with this misconception or this idea that something was right or something was wrong. It's not right. So I was into a little situation also, but it was calmed down with it, but I just told him, so you said, I said, you do. And then was like, you do. And he was like,
I read about that.
He was like, well, and he was like, I'm surprised. I was like, man, you do. I mean, what are you talking about? So it was kind of like, but then they asked me, just like, man, it's not really good, man. You have to realize what's alive, what's real, what's not.
Right.
So piggybacking off of her question with fighting and boxing, when it comes to these kids that are being stupid and fighting, some people say that getting into boxing is good for them. Do you agree with that, or does that make them kind of redirect that stupidity that makes them fight and realize it's not worth it? Does boxing really kind of help kids like that? It's kind of
Yes, boxing can really good. Boxing is all about discipline.
Right.
You see the guy who's getting beat up, whatever, he's gonna lose control.
Gotcha.
So what happens with that is that, yes, I think it's good for kids just because it can help you empower yourself, feel good about yourself. Know that if something happens, you can kind of protect yourself. But at the same time, I think that you realize the next fight, to be able to know what boxing does and what boxing is not to fight nobody. Boxing is not about fighting. Boxing is about the sport. It's Like, you're not running playing football, but through the hallway is a place for that also.
Yeah.
Boxing is just more of a deterrent for that. And it really teaches kids discipline because when like I told you, I went to Ohio and down so I went all over the country, all over the world. And if I was not disciplined, I wouldn't have been able to do that. I wouldn't have been able to go running in the morning and catch a bus every day to go to the Boys Club, every day for my living. It was like, it was very disciplined. I mean, it took a family, a mother, you know, we were bus fare and everything. So it was like, yeah. You have to have a good team around, and you have to be disciplined as well.
Now, my husband, he always say about there's a lot of fighting that goes on in the schools, and he was like, all we need to do is bring a boxing ring and give the kids a glove and let them duke it out. You know, what's your thoughts about
I
that?
think that's good. I think that because you realize that the anger that you had will lose to fatigue. So you manage all get out. Listen, when you get tired, you said that fatigue make cowards and men. What it means is once you get tired, you don't quit. So that fatigue. So what happens after that is that you say, okay, and then you realize, man, I really ain't getting at you. You know, you have a second chance to think about it. Just like me when I was jogging, just like clear my mind. So it's just like when we're putting boxing, you do that for me.
Well, I'm a girl, and I fight like a girl. So I'm ready to get in the ring so you can kind of give me some good tips on what I can do.
I think I'm pretty good. So, yeah.
You're pretty good.
Yeah, I'm pretty good.
For never have done boxing?
Yeah, I know how to strategize.
Oh, okay.
I don't be
But
winning.
that strategy about the fight is not to get
It's not to have.
Then I gotta learn something. That's what you're for.
Yeah.
So I can redirect this energy somewhere else. Let's put these gloves on.
Yeah, I'm a martial arts girl.
I'm gonna get up like the real champs do. It's a real ring. Oh my God. Oh, it is? Oh, so they help them bounce around.
Yeah, but mine is like, I did a little different.
I didn't know where everybody is. Please tell me about it.
I'm right-handed. I'm right-handed. Like, I'm right-handed.
You stand it, it's like the left foot forward, left foot forward, bend your knees. Like this, bend it up. And then one here. One here.
Good to go, girl.
So what happens, the reason why I had to turn sideways, for several reasons. Two reasons. First reason is because the power comes from the rotation. When we rotate, nobody gets pumped. Secondly, because the hit, the less the hit, the easier hit you is like this. This is one of the scoring area. You got like this and you turn sideways. So when the power comes here, rotate, your body, shift your weight, shift your weight. And then we'll go two. 1, 2, rotate. 1, 2, rotate. 2, rotate. And we'll go 3. 1, 2, 3. Back. 1, 2, 3. Rotate. 1, 2, 3. Back. 1, 2, 3. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Look at the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4. When you do one punch out, so you tighten up your abs and get oblique workout at the same time. So you tighten 1, 2, 3, 4. Back. 1, 2, 3.
Maurice sweating.
We need to refrain or
The discipline is not to fight.
belt.